Jules, there's some great stories behind this. That people who follow women's football all year long will be very familiar with them. People who don't follow this at all might not be familiar with, and they may not care, but they're good stories. So some of these stories, I think, and one of the biggest ones is obviously the issue with Spain. We touched upon it. The coach, Vilda, massive falling out. He's been there a long time, also because I think his dad is at the Spanish Federation. Massive falling out with the players after the Euros. As many as 15 players wrote to the federation saying that they weren't available for selection if he was going to continue.
Yeah, like what the French did, obviously similar.
Luis Rubiales took a very hard line and said,
against the players when the French went against the coach.
Which is an interesting take.
Yeah.
I understand Rubiales' position. You cannot. This is not a union, right?
No.
You don't get to decide who the coach is. Now, I as a federation have to answer, because if I call Vilda and then all the best players don't play and we suck, then then Vilda's going to get the bullet and I bring somebody else in, right?
Yeah.
And maybe I might get the bullet for siding with Vilda.
Yeah.
But you don't get to decide, and I don't have the issue there. But the reality is they go to this World Cup with, I think, maybe at least 3 players from Barcelona.
One of them starters,
Mapi Leon, an important player. All those guys out of the mix.
Yeah.
And with arguably their best player, their most famous player, Alexia, very much feeling marginal in this team.
Yeah,
right?
I think. And coming back from a really bad injury too.
But she was one of those who doesn't necessarily see eye to eye with Vilda either.
Definitely.
And they get this far and they play good football.
Yeah.
What's the secret? Because obviously Barcelona and Atletico Madrid powerhouses, but women's football probably not really priority for Spain until maybe a decade ago.
Yeah, but to be fair, the program they put together that has brought a lot of young players through, and we see Pareros, we see others who are quite young and doing so well, technically so advanced. Again, I think it needs to be stressed out. But despite that, and there are issues in that dressing room. There must be tension still between some who are here but were against Vilda before but are still here. The ones who were always kind of with him who are still here as well, but you know who's who and what camp you are in, and she's in, etc. So I don't know how he deals with it. He seems to be very strong in what he believes in. But it just can't be easy, I think, to deal with. But I guess as long as you win, it's fine. And for me, the most impressive was post-Japan defeat, because the way, and okay, you can look at it and it's a freak of a result and a freak of a game, because in that first half, Japan touched the ball 3 times in the Spain box. They scored 3 goals. I think they had 27 seconds they spent in the Spain last third, and they scored 3 goals. You can do that game again and it would never happen the same way. But the way they responded and bounced back was very impressive, and I think he deserves some credit. He's probably not perfect, but for that he deserves some credit, and he's in the World Cup final. When
you talk about teams that play based on technical ability, play the big stereotype is pretty football. You're always kind of, because you're taking the extra pass or whatever, there's always a sense that other people can play against you by sitting deep, by allowing you to play in front of them, and then playing on the counter. Now, I know this is kind of a bit reductive to describe Sweden that way when they played against Spain. Probably also accurate about the way Sweden maybe played against the United States. So when they played in their when they faced each other in their semifinal, I thought they finally deserved, took the lead, but then came the equalizer. Yeah. And I feel like in this Women's World Cup, there's always, somebody can always make a mistake. Somebody can always quickly get back into it. How important was it that they then went on to, obviously it was very important they closed it out, but could we see a similar script against England?
Maybe.
Are England a better, more talented Sweden, basically?
Yeah, maybe, although the Swede had a lot of momentum going, and I think had a lot of qualities, and a lot of people, even with ESPN, who were with me at the World Cup, thought this was Sweden's time and that they would beat in Spain and everything. This is the second time as well against the Dutch. Spain were in the lead and conceded a really late goal, then went to extra time, could not score the winner before, and had to go to extra time, where they won it after a big scare and a big chance for the Dutch too. So there's still some issues defensively, especially I think because of the way they play. And Paredes has been amazing, I think, in this World Cup, but they still can control everything. So that's something for England, and I think Alessia Russo will have a huge role to play in the final. England to exploit, but I just think they have so much with the ball. Spain, they create so much, and the lack of clinicality, the lack of something, whatever. Spain haven't been clinical enough in all the things that they've created, all the chances that they've had. Unlike England, which could be a key factor in that final, because you might have just one chance or two, and if you don't score it, you might regret it. Spain won't have 5 or 6 chances like they've had maybe in other games and just took one. I think that could be also the limit maybe against England, such a strong England team, as you said.
On England, there's a big call to make. Obviously, Lauren James will be available again after her suspension, which I was doing the show with Nadem, who was obviously backing Nigeria. This is, and when we saw the Lauren James thing, everything was ready to say it's a David Beckham moment. For those who didn't see this, she goes and she deliberately kind of steps on the opponent's back. You're not going to get away with that in the age of VAR. She's apologized. She got her automatic 1-match ban, then another ban. Ella Toone played in her place. Mm-hmm. I don't think she was necessarily exceptional in the match. I saw Lauren James gives you more.
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be a change?
I don't think there should be. I think Ella Toone has to start the final, bring on Lauren James as a super sub if needs be. Let's not forget Ella Toone scored in the World Cup semi-final, in the Euros final, of course, against Germany, a very important goal. And I think I told you that when I did the show, when I just came on a little bit for the show with Nathan, I think you should punish Lauren James anyway. And for me, starting her in a World Cup final where her teammates, and I know this is a team and you're all together, but they got there without her because she was not good in the last 16 against Nigeria and got that red card that could have got her team out. Then the quarterfinal, semi-final, she wasn't there in arguably the 2 toughest games that England have had to play in Colombia and then Australia. Why change it? Don't bring her back into the team. Put her on the bench. If you need her, then bring her up. Bring her on for the last 20, 25 if you're a goal down or if it's 0-0 or whatever. But I think Ella Toone deserves to start the final. To go back to that Australia game, which, we talked about how England have not played well in this tournament and yet they've managed to advance. Did you feel that was actually a better performance than what we've seen before? No, I didn't think so. But they were better than.
It was better than Nigeria game.
Yeah, but they were
better than the Colombia game.
Yeah, but I think they were still so much better in a way than Australia. Australia have the great mentality and the togetherness that you want, and they're physical and they're intense. Okay, but if you score first to start with, that's a big help. And then England were always. It looked like they were always stronger in that game anyway. And maybe the occasion, that semi-final for Australia, they've never reached that kind of game before. I think they got really nervy.
I mean, I know you're not going to put it down on one person. Sam Kerr, obviously going into the tournament carrying an injury.
Yeah.
Might be fit or definitely not fully fit in the final, but scores one tremendous goal. The other one,
big chance on the corner that she misses.
Big chance where the ball comes down to her. It was funny because, from a technical aspect, right? I would have thought, easiest thing to do, let that ball drop more before you strike it. Even because there was nobody close to her.
Yeah, exactly.
Did she just feel that maybe there was somebody on her, and so she's like, I got to get my shot off quickly?
She rushed it. And maybe she rushed it because she hasn't played enough in the last month or so.
Her rhythm is off.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it could just be down to this. And which is a shame because she's the most lethal striker in the world. Her and Pop, I guess. And for her to miss that chance where you would have put your house on her scoring from that close range is really unlike her and strange. But I certainly watching the game, I put that on the fact that she lacks match fitness and rhythm because she hasn't played since July 14th against France in that friendly before her little cameo entrances there and there.
If that goes in, the momentum shifts.
Yeah,
and who knows what happens?
Yeah, you don't know.
But obviously, it would have been an absolute barnstorming
it would have been incredible.
in that game.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.